www.wadr.org.
News, talk, music, get it all
24 hours
on West Africa Democracy Radio 94.9 FM Dakar.
WADR, promoting dialogue.
It's 6 p.m. in Dakar, 7 o'clock in Lagos. Good evening and welcome to Newslink on West Africa Democracy Radio, broadcasting on 94.9 FM and around the world at wadr.org. Here are the top stories. Gambia's Victim Center welcomes the arrest and extradition of former death squad member Sana Manjang.
Sana Manjang cannot be treated like any other junglers. He's so special that something must be done by the government as soon as possible. He either be detained indefinitely or they create a system whereby he can be tried as soon as possible.
2 Malian journalists kidnapped by JNIM reappear in new video pleading for help.
Je m'appelle Dauda Kone.
My name is Dauda Kone. We ask those watching this video to please offer blessings and do everything possible to help us be freed.
Foreign Simbe inaugurates Togo's 5th Republic, and human rights groups urges ECOWAS to press Guinea-Bissau's junta for announcement of election results. Please stay tuned for details of these stories and more.
West Africa Democracy Radio. It's you speaking.
My name is Sankule Janko. Many thanks for joining our broadcast this evening. We begin in the Gambia, where Center for Victims of Human Rights Violations has welcomed the extradition of Sana Manjang, a former member of Yahya Jammeh's notorious junglers death squad. Manjang, long feared in the country, was handed over to Gambian authorities on Tuesday after being arrested on November 29 in Senegal's Casamance region. He's accused of grave human rights abuses, including torture, enforced disappearances, and extrajudicial killings committed during Jammeh's regime. His transfer to Banjul is being described as a major step in Gambia's transitional justice process, with Manjang expected to face charges ranging from treason and terrorism to murder and crimes against humanity. For many victims who have waited years for accountability, this marks an important moment in the push for justice. Well, we are joined now by Keba Jom, National Coordinator of the Gambia Center for Victims of Human Rights Violations.
So we are so much delighted, and we appreciate the support of the government, the Senegalese authorities, because initially we are told that the process may take a little bit of time before they can transfer him. But now that it has happened immediately, we are so delighted. And next is what can the government of the Gambia do? What are they going to do? That's the big concern now, because some of the junglers, as I said earlier on, are still only walking scot-free in the country. So they've not been tried, and we don't know exactly. There is this dilemma whether they are going to try Sana immediately or what. That's the concern of the victims. That's our major concern. Whether they will try him now or they are going to follow the due process of creating the Special Prosecutor's Office, the hybrid court. That process is still on, and I'm not sure. We are not really convinced that government is going to take an immediate step, but that should be the reality. The thing is, Sana Manjang cannot be treated like any other junglers, because there are some of the junglers who are still at large. Some are in the Gambia and they are yet to be prosecuted, waiting for prosecution. So, but for Sana Manjang, he's so special that something must be done by the government as soon as possible. He either be detained indefinitely or they create a system whereby he can be tried as soon as possible. Because already, we know the Minister of Justice is working on the Special Prosecutor's Office, which is not yet ready. So, we don't know what's going to happen, whether they are going to wait for that to be completed, or are they going to take other steps to ensure that they try Sana Manjang.
Keba Jom is the National Coordinator of the Gambia's Victim Center for Violation of Human Rights. Still in the Gambia, the group known as Gambians Against Looted Assets, Gala, is accusing the government of sidestepping accountability. The group has blamed the National Sports Council and National Assembly for deliberately ignoring its petition on corruption and mismanagement of public resources. During a press briefing on Tuesday, the movement said its demands are rooted in transparency, accountability and justice and are supported by verified evidence and official records. WDR's Banjul correspondent Sang Donald Mendy reports.
Gambians Against Looted Assets emphasize that the situation exposes systematic management and weak oversight. The movement is demanding an independent audit of all FIFA forward funds, public disclosure of complete projects, verification of project sites, settlement of overdue payments, and institutional reforms within the Federation. While welcoming the National Assembly's acknowledgement that the audit-related issues are admissible, Gala criticized the body for rejecting calls to publish state land allocations and investigate alleged losses of $300 million, equivalent to $41,380 at the Gambia Ports Authority. Gala also condemns the government's handling of petroleum importation and sales, claiming that Assembly recommendations were ignored, raising doubts about political will at the highest level. Omar Sanyang is the Secretary General of Gala.
Gala family believes that the posture of the current administration demonstrates an abuse of genuine commitment to combating corruption and enforce accountability. We remind the government of its constitutional and moral obligation to safeguard national resources, enforce national laws, ensure transparency in all public dealings, protect the interests of the Gambian people. Failure to uphold these obligations threatens not only the institutional integrity, but also the nation's economic stability and democratic process.
Meanwhile, the Gambians Against Looted Assets disclosed a plan on the way to mark the International Human Rights Day on December 10th to launch a national caravan in January to mobilize public support for a corruption-free Gambia. Since the ousting of Yahya Jammeh in 2016, transitional justice mechanisms have been established to address past abuses. However, Gala argued that institutional corruption persists and the transitional process has stalled under President Adama Barrow's administration. For Newslink on West Africa Democracy Radio, I am Sangdona Mendy, reporting from Banjul.
Let's head to Togo, where the President of the Council of Ministers of Foreign Yasimbe addressed a joint session of Parliament on Tuesday, delivering a State of the Nation speech. During the ceremony, Yasimbe formally inaugurated the Fifth Republic, outlining a threefold objective. They include a more democratic, more equitable, and more efficient Togo. Augustine Colley has the rest of the details.
Speaking to members of Parliament, Prime Minister Foreign Yasimbe emphasized the significance of the constitutional reform of May 6, 2024. For him, it is not a simple adjustment, but a true revolution in the public mind.
Nous ne devons pas nous méprendre sur le sens.
We must not misunderstand the meaning of the reform we have adopted. It is not simply a matter of redistributing functions between institutions. It implies a genuine and profound shift in political culture, with more debate, more accountability, more transparency, and closer ties to citizens. In this new republic, every member of parliament is more accountable to the people than ever before. Every citizen must feel that their voice matters and that their situation is taken into account.
With Parliament now having full powers, Foreign Yasimbe says the reform will also help to change the way the country is governed through three axes, which include protection, unity, and transformation.
My government actions will be organized around three major pillars: the protection of Togolese citizens, the sovereignty of Togo, and its diplomatic influence. This is the responsibility to protect the consolidation of the republic. This is the will to unite and economic and social development. This is the ambition to transform.
It should be noted that the constitutional change in Togo was strongly contested by civil society and the opposition.
A report from WDR's Lome correspondent Sylvie Wadrago, voiced by Augustine Colley.
More stories coming up on West Africa Democracy Radio. Newslink continues.
Well, Well, in more governance issues, let's turn to Guinea-Bissau. Civil society organizations are calling on ECOWAS to press the military in power and ensure the electoral process is finalized. On Tuesday, December 2, 2025, the Electoral Commission indicated that it could not announce the election results as the tally seats and its equipment had been confiscated by the military. However, the Bissau-Guinean civil society is proposing solutions and urging ECOWAS to guarantee certain conditions for the announcement of results to resolve the crisis. Boubacar Touré is the president of Guinea-Bissau League for Human Rights.
This coup was orchestrated to prevent the publication of the results and the proclamation of the winner of the presidential elections. That's what the National Electoral Commission officially stated. They confiscated the results, but we can recover them. We can reconstruct the process. If there are security conditions, it's easier to reconstruct the process, to carry out the order verbal process, to finalize the work. The challenge right now, clearly, is to create security conditions. We have an ECOWAS force in place. This force could have been used to create security conditions, but ECOWAS didn't do that. So, with these authorities, they have already suspended the electoral processes. I haven't seen how the Electoral Commission can say it wants to publish the results. It's objectively impossible.
Boubacar Touré is the president of the Guinea-Bissau League for Human Rights. In Mali, 2 ORTM journalists kidnapped last October by JNIM have appeared in a new video released by the armed group. Dauda Kone, director of the national television station in Wadr, and he is the cameraman Salif Sangare, seen appealing for help to secure their release. There has been no official response from the transitional authorities or TM or media organizations since the pair were abducted while traveling in central Mali. In the video, the journalists, dressed in traditional bubus and seated before a fabric backdrop, appear visibly shaken, but in relatively good health. Dauda Kone delivered a message in the recording.
Je m'appelle Dauda Kone. Je travaille à l'ORTM.
My name is Dauda Kone. I work at ORTM. On October 14, 2025, we were intercepted between Savare and Kona en route to Douanza for work. We ask those watching this video to please offer blessings and do everything possible to help us be freed. Since our arrival, we have been given food, water, and shelter.
Well, Kone and Sangare were kidnapped last October by JNIM, the group for the support of Islam and Muslims, as they traveled between Savare and Kona. Since then, silence has surrounded their case, raising growing concern among colleagues and rights defenders. In neighboring Niger, the transitional authorities have threatened to file legal complaints against the Orano Mining Company. The Nigerian Minister of Justice made the announcement during a press conference on Tuesday. This media appearance followed the discovery of 400 barrels containing radioactive core samples left behind by the French company Orano in the airlift department in the north of the country. Authorities warned that the highly toxic material, if it explodes, would pose a serious threat to the lives and health of Nigerians living in the area. Abdullah Hassan completes the story.
According to the Nigerian Minister of Justice, these actions by the Orano Group are similar to the planning of mass crimes characterized by the use of radioactive substances. The Nigerian justice system also speaks of endangering the lives of others and environmental degradation. Aliou Dauda is Nigeria's Minister of Justice.
This surprising discovery speaks volumes about Orano's disregard for Niger and its people since the start of uranium mining operations. Indeed, according to the geological field study, those measurements taken on these materials reveal a toxicity level varying between 7 and 10 macrosieverts per hour, while the normal dose is 0.5 macrosieverts.
Minister Aliou Dauda also took the opportunity to denounce Orano's refusal to comply with court decisions in the standoff with the state of Niger.
In response to these actions by SAP, the state of Niger has taken all necessary steps to pursue Orano and obtain redress for all the harm suffered by our people and our environment after assessing the extent of the environmental, social, health, educational and pastoral impacts with national stakeholders. These stakeholders will be consulted to document the damage effectively.
This media appearance by the Nigerian Minister of Justice comes a few days after the authorities announced that they will be selling on the international market uranium produced in Niger by Somer, a subsidiary of French group Orano, which was nationalized by Niamey last June.
Abdullah Hassan with the details of that report filed by WDR's correspondent Mutala Zubairu in Niamey. You're listening to Newslink on West Africa Democracy Radio, broadcasting on 94.9 FM and around the world at WATR.org. Here is a reminder of our top stories. Gambia's Victims Center welcomes the arrest and extradition of former Death Squad member Sana Manjang. 2 Malian journalists kidnapped by JNIM reappear in new video pleading for help. Foreign Yasimbe inaugurates Togo's Fifth Republic, and human rights groups urges echoes to pressure Guinea-Bissau's junta for announcement of election results. Still ahead, we have the guest interview and sports news. Please stay with us.
Fresh and breaking news all the time. Hear it first as the news breaks, only on West Africa Democracy Radio. Newslink continues.
In Nigeria, reactions are pouring in following the resignation of Alhaji Mohammed Badaru Abubakar from the position of Defense Minister. In a letter dated December 1 and addressed to President Bola Tinubu, Abubakar stated that he was stepping down on health grounds. President Tinubu accepted the resignation and has nominated former Chief of Defense Staff General Christopher Musa as the new Defense Minister. However, Abubakar's departure is generating debate both within Nigeria and abroad, given the country's current national security challenges and the rising number of kidnappings. In this context, Dr. Maji Pritax, a security expert and country coordinator of Think Project in Nigeria, offers his analysis of the resignation and the implications of the newly nominated Defense Minister.
Institutions and governance and leadership of structures are supposed to be a continuum. It's about policies, principles, and operational procedures. And if that has been listed, depending on who is coming in, there's a Minister of State who has been working closely with him who should be in the know. So I don't think that should infer, that should impact, that should affect seriously the plans that they have on ground for everything. But whatever it is that we're saying are just insinuations, we have to take him by his words. What he said is that he's resigning on the grounds of health, despite other people are saying that there are some political undertones and maneuvers and a push, because the president might be interested in getting someone who is more competent that will push this fight. Everybody is getting fed up and the president wants to bring this thing to an end.
President Tinubu has nominated the ex-Chief of Defense Staff Christopher Musa as Defense Minister. What do you make of this latest nomination, sir?
I think that's a very good thing, because unanimously a lot of Nigerians have always been agitating that he should be the one to do it, because even when he was asked to leave as CDS, a lot of people didn't see a reason why they are asking him to go, because the guy has spent about 39 years of his life in the army. He's a very experienced and respected army officer.
Dr. Magic Peters is a security expert and country coordinator of Think Project in Nigeria. Meanwhile, the European Union's fragile security environment, along with deepening ethnic and religious polarization, is worsened by a surge in foreign-backed information manipulation. This was stated at a workshop for diplomatic correspondents in Abuja on Tuesday, December 2, 2025. The EU warns that sophisticated disinformation campaigns now pose a direct threat to democratic governance and public trust ahead of the country's 2027 general elections. WDR's Usman Omar reports from Abuja.
The warning from the European Union comes at a time when Nigeria is navigating one of its most volatile periods, an era marked by rising insecurity, political mistrust, and widening cracks along ethnic and religious lines. At the one-day capacity-building workshop on foreign information manipulation and interference, the EU ambassador to Nigeria and ECOWAS, Gautier Mignot, told diplomatic correspondents that false or misleading narratives have become one of the most destabilizing forces shaping public discourse globally.
Information manipulation and disinformation erode democratic values, breed mutual suspicion and disaffection, and undermine peace, security, and stability at both national and regional level. The growing glamorization of anti-democratic forces as superheroes in opposition to democratic values is a sad pointer to the damage information manipulation is causing in West Africa and including in Nigeria.
The ambassador referenced several global studies showing widespread public anxiety about the political impact of disinformation, but he noted that Nigeria's own experience is even more concerning as fake narratives continue to fuel suspicion between communities already divided by faith and identity. The EU says emerging technologies have worsened the challenge. Deepfakes, AI-generated audio, doctored videos, and manipulated images now circulate with such realism that distinguishing truth from falsehood has become increasingly difficult. To counter these dangers, the European Union outlined ongoing interventions across West Africa, from monitoring election-related disinformation to expanding media literacy programs and supporting fact-checking organizations such as Dubawa. The workshop, he said, aims to strengthen the resilience of Nigerian media, the institution he describes as a critical pillar of democracy at a time when the truth itself is under attack. For Newslink on West Africa Democracy Radio, Usman Umar reporting from Abuja.
In Liberia, the civil rights movement, Solidarity and Trust for a New Day Stand has announced a major protest scheduled for December 17, 2025 against the Liberian government. This will be the group's second demonstration following an initial protest on July 17, 2025, driven by growing public discontent over alleged corruption and the mismanagement of public funds. Stan says the planned demonstration is a response to worsening economic conditions, with a rise in inflation and unemployment increasingly affecting the lives of ordinary citizens. WADR's Monrovia correspondent Abraham Packer reports.
The civil rights movement accuses President Bouakar's administration of failing to provide basic social services, mismanaging state resources, and allowing crime rates to rise. It also cites instances of police brutality and what it describes as a culture of impunity among public officials. Led by its chairman Moluba Molu, Stand announces plans for an assembly at the executive mansion where members intend to present a petition on behalf of the Liberian people.
We converge right before the front pavement of the executive mansion because that place is the property of the people and the people will not be denied their right to converge on their property. We have a police director whose arms have become heavy with muscles, victimizing innocent citizens, giving instructions that have led to a bloodbath.
The Solidarity and Trust for a New Day says it remains unbending and uncompromising in its fight against bad governance, adding that no level of security restrictions will prevent Liberians from assembling on December 17, 2025.
That revolution begins on December 17, and it is irreversible. And once it is initiated, it will not be cut off until Joseph Yimon Boakai will make the wise decision to listen to the demands of the people and commence a scrupulous process to implement all the demands that will be contained in our assembly on that day.
The Liberian government has yet to respond to Stan's allegations or clarify whether a permit from the Ministry of Justice will be required before the planned public demonstration can proceed. For Newslink on WADR, Abraham Parker, Monrovia.
Politics, analysis on major news, social matters, and all. This is a guest.
Well, in Nigeria, reactions continue to build following the resignation of Defense Minister Alhaji Mohammed Badaru Abubakar, who stepped down, citing health conditions. In a letter dated December 1, President Bola Tinubu has accepted his resignation and nominated former Chief of Defense Staff, General Christopher Musa, to take over the role. Abubakar's departure comes at a sensitive time as Nigeria grapples with escalating security challenges and a surge in kidnappings. Well, to help us understand the implications of this resignation and what the new appointment could mean for Nigeria's security landscape. We are joined by Dr. Maji Pitax, security expert and country coordinator of Think Project in Nigeria.
He took a lot of people unawares because even if he was sick, the issue of his ill health was not in the public domain. At a time like this, it came with mixed feeling. Other people are saying, yeah, maybe you should give way so that we have a more competent person to do it because there are a lot of issues about what was happening under his purview. While others are wondering, why will the defense minister be resigning now there is a state of emergency on security where his commitment and energy is needed?
What underlying security or political pressures could coincide with such a resignation? And how do leadership changes at the defense level typically impact counter-terrorism and anti-kidnapping operations that the Nigerian government is trying to implement?
Well, institutions and governance and leadership of structures are supposed to be a continuum. And mostly when competent, capable, and those with amiable capacity are in situations of leadership, they always ensure that it's not all about them. It's about policies, principles, and operational procedures. And if that has been listed, depending on who is coming in, there's a minister of state who has been working closely with him who should be in the know. So I don't think that should impact, that should affect seriously the plans that they have on ground for everything. But whatever it is that we're saying are just insinuations, we have to take him by his words. What he said is that he's resigning on the grounds of health, despite other people are saying that there are some political undertones and maneuvers and a push, because the president might be interested in getting someone who is more competent that will push this fight. Everybody is getting fed up and the president wants to bring this thing to an end. So if that's what has happened, maybe they just gave him a soft landing. Because the whole thing that is happening is not all about him. It's about the boots on the ground, the forces who are implementing, the armed forces who are still there. The service chiefs are still in place, and I think that will go on.
There are some debates, there are some discussions in street corners of Nigeria that the immediate past defense minister, Badaru Abubakar, was more of a politician than a security expert. What do you make of this?
We've had times where politicians have been defense ministers. In 2003, 2007, we've had the former governor of Kano State, Rabiu Musa Kwankwaso. He has served as defense minister before. So this is not the first person that is doing it. We've had that happen before. It's just that he is doing it at a time where the country is going through so much issues around insecurity. And so people need to see things happening. They need to see more action. They need to see results. So maybe that's why people are looking at it, that why give a politician who doesn't have an understanding. But the whole thing is that if you get a very strong, competent who have not been in the armed forces, that if you give them defense minister, they will know what to do. Because, I mean, they have backgrounds in security, they have backgrounds in non-kinetic approaches, they have backgrounds in security interventions, and they have very good competence of getting the right type of people to do the right thing. And it's just a matter of getting the right people to set up procedures and processes. It adds an advantage when you get someone who has an experience because he has worked in that field before, and someone who is apolitical, because security is not a political thing. I mean, it's either you're doing what is right or you're doing what is wrong. So that could have been the only debate.
And President Tinubu has nominated the ex-Chief of Defense Staff, Christopher Musa, as Defense Minister. What do you make of this latest nomination?
I think that's a very good thing because unanimously, a lot of Nigerians have always been agitating that he should be the one to do it, because even when he was asked to leave as CDS, a lot of people didn't see a reason why they are asking him to go, because the guy has spent about 39 years of his life in the army. He has been a career soldier. He has been through thick and thin. He's a very experienced and respected army officer. So if you put him to be a defense minister at this point, I think it's a round peg in a round hole.
Dr. Maji Pitax is a security expert and country coordinator of Think Project Nigeria. Well, in sports, Nigeria's head coach Eric Shell has released a 54-man professional squad for AFCON 2025, signaling strong competition for places ahead of the tournament in Morocco. The list features established stars, returning players, and several newcomers, but most be cut to 28 before the competition begins on December 21. Well, Nigeria's runners-up last competition and seeking their first title since 2013, will compete in Group D with Tunisia, Uganda, and Tanzania. Elsewhere, Egypt have confirmed their final 28-man squad for the tournament, with Mohamed Salah leading the team. Coach Hosam Hassan has opted for a mix of experienced players and rising talents, saying the group offers the balance needed as the Pharaohs chase an 8th continental crown. And meanwhile, Cameroon's new head coach David Pago says discipline and unity will define his AFCON preparations. Appointed after Mark Bree's dismissal, Pago aims to rebuild stability and revive the Indomitable Lions' competitive spirit ahead of the tournament in Morocco. We've come to the end of this edition of Newslink on West Africa Democracy Radio, broadcasting from Dakar, Senegal. Thank you for listening, and many thanks to Mustafa Sek and Ismaila Kamara for the technical assistance. So do interact with us via our social media platforms, X and Instagram at WDR English, and on Facebook, WDR English service, and stream live at wadr.org.
FM 91.3 Sierra Leone in Nigeria and Love 104.5 FM Abuja.
For you listening via Radio Pad 95.1 Damango, Savannah region, and on Royals FM 104.7 Wenchi, Ghana, we say a big thank you. Remember, West Africa Democracy Radio is all about you, your views, and your opinions.